Praise the Lord, saints. This is Elder Adrian Heyman. And I'm going to talk a bit about something that I've talked about several times before, but I'm going to try to talk it from several sides. That's the issue of tariffs. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because our president will be doing his State of the Union address, and he does this pretty much once every year for every year that he's in this particular place. And so I thought, in the spirit of fairness, I want to try to explain on both sides what tariffs do. Now, according to our president, that tariffs will actually bring money into the federal government. And it does, because it's a direct tax on goods that are brought into this country. So he's right when he says that it will result in a certain amount of revenue, and if people are inclined to buy of that particular product or goods, then for everyone that's sold, there's certain money that's going to the federal government. Now, the issue, if there is a problem, is that whereas tariffs were spoken of, and there's been many a time where it was spoken of in this way, that tariffs tax the importing country, which means that those that are trying to sell goods to us, in terms of, let's say, for instance, a rice farmer in Thailand wants to sell rice to us, and maybe their rice is maybe at $2 a barrel, or whatever it happens to be. Maybe that's too little, maybe it's too much, but at this point, I don't really care about that. I just want to get a picture on. But let's say $2 a barrel of rice. The tariff ends up making that $2.25, 10%, maybe a little bit more than 10%. So instead of $2 a barrel, it's $2.25 a barrel. Well, it's not the farmer in Thailand that pays this tariff. It's the importer, which happens to be an American company. It's an importer that pays for this. So essentially what happens is that the importer pays the rice company or the rice producer $2 per barrel. And then he goes around and pays the federal government another 25 cents, hence $2.25. So the government now gets money that it didn't have before. The question is, where is he getting it from? Now, if there's an untruth to this, it is simply in the fact that tariffs were presented as charging the other countries. That's not the case. It seems like it is, because we always say it's against Canada goods, against Mexico goods, against China goods and everything else, but that's not really what's happening. What's happening is that you now incur a cost for importing the goods, but it's not those countries that are paying for it. Why they get upset is that their goods used to be pretty cheap. Now they're a little more expensive, making their goods less palatable to the consumer, which is who? Us. Because let's say that we have been paying, or we have been raising our own rice, but it costs $2.20. So before the tariff, the rice from Thailand was less expensive than ours. So, of course, we get the rice from Thailand while the farmers over here suffer. But then now you place a tariff on the goods from Thailand. Those goods are now more expensive than the U.S. grown goods. So now the consumer may pay $2.20 instead of $2.25. Now, that's good in terms of for the short term. But what happens is that the consumer, which is us, ends up paying more for rice, period. Because instead of paying $2, you at least are paying $2.20. Yes, it's American goods, but it's coming out of your pocket. Now, in many of the cases, the importer or distributor, whoever it is, has eaten some of the costs of the tariff, meaning that they don't pass the cost on to the consumer. They end up paying it out of their own pocket, at least on a temporary basis. So the consumer doesn't see it. And as long as the goods that are being sold are of sufficient quantity or volume, then it's not that much of a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice because you're making less money per unit of goods that you're selling. But if it's still going at a pretty brisk pace, you can actually eat that cost. But then if that tariff keeps going, then eventually those companies are going to say, you know what, I'm tired of paying this amount of money because essentially this wasn't part of the cost. If I'm paying the government money, I got to recoup that money somehow. And eventually it falls upon where? The consumer. So one may say that you are lowering income taxes, means money that's charged every time you make a paycheck. They take money out of you, take money out. But if you're not paying, but eventually the consumer will end up paying the tax that is also on the tariff. So let's sum it up, saints. Number one, the tariff is income to the government. So if you're looking for money, then go ahead, put an extra amount of money charged to what's incoming goods. However, who pays for this? Not the other country, not their government, and not their business. So number one, the country which the tariffs are charged to, that country does not pay for the tariffs. Number two, somebody on this side does pay for the tariff. It's just a question of who does. Is it the company that imports the goods? Is it the distributor? Is it the seller? Or not seller, but is it the retailer? Or is it the customer? Or is it some type of combination of all of them? In many cases, it's a combination so that you don't get the full price of the tariff on any one party. But there is a raise in prices, especially for substantial tariffs, which are meant to be punitive, to make the idea of buying a certain product from another country less palatable because it costs too much. Now, for those that which the goods are sold as is, you bring goods here, you sell them, then that's okay. There's a cost to it. Another issue, though, is if you make certain items in this country, yet the components of those items that you make in this country actually come from other countries, including those on whom tariffs are being charged to. And in that case, the cost of making that item in the United States rises because the components now cost more. And again, it depends upon how much of the cost can you eat. In many cases, the profit margins are so thin that you can't do that. So these are things that you have to think about when you're dealing with tariffs. To the person who says, if we raise tariffs on certain goods, that means that those goods become expensive and we can now have more people now beginning to build more things here in the United States. This is very true, except two things. Number one, the goods that you are importing in order to make the product, those are taxed with a tariff. So, which means that now you're paying more to make the goods. Or it's a good idea, but an idea that's come several decades too late. For instance, let's say television. Why don't we build television in the United States? Why? Because Sanyo and other types of TV makers from South Korea, from Japan, and other places can make their TVs high quality, but cheaper. So those industries are almost all the way in those countries. So if you try to put tariffs on those, who are the customers going to buy from? And would the tariffs affect them directly? You bet your bottom dollar. Now, I'm not telling you to bet because we Christians, I don't believe that we should be betting. But as a matter of speaking, you would feel as though someone would be paying more money for these goods. Well, why don't you go start something in America? Well, it takes a lot of, it takes a lot of capital. You have startup costs. You want to build the best product. You just can't build anything shoddy. Say, well, you're buying it because they're American. No, people won't buy it because they're American. In fact, they'll say that the American products are shabby. So let's go buy something else. See, these are things that you have to think about. These take time. I say they can't happen, but it takes time. And I think the frustrating thing about all this is that we're getting one side versus another side, and we're not getting an agreement as to what tariffs actually do. Then when we hear from experts, economic experts, those that know about how these things work, we've been so galvanized by political factors that we don't see what the economists do. Now, as I always ask, because being an elder in a Christian organization, there always has to be something for the saint of God in all this. And as with anything, we have to hear all of the truth, not just the part that one side versus the other side wants you to hear. So they just want to get their program across. But essentially, to make it fair to you, the consumer, the voter, you have to understand it, not from a political point of view, but from how it's going to affect your pocket. Now, if it affects your pocket, meaning that it costs more, you may be able to take it if there is some offsetting benefit as a result of this. For instance, more goods that are made in the United States, like agricultural products, which essentially are pretty much that whole unit. You don't have a part of a lettuce made in Mexico, and another part of a lettuce made in Peru, and the head of the lettuce made over in Brazil. No. You buy the whole kit and caboodle. Those are relatively simple. And so essentially, if you are willing to pay more, then that's up to you. You can either vote yes or no. Yes, I like my president to charge tariffs so that we can sell more of those same products here in the United States. And we're willing to pay more to be able to do that. Okay, then that is a decision that you can make. And it's okay. But if you tell people, no, the country where the tariff is being exacted against, that's who pays for it. It's the same thing as getting Mexico to pay for the border wall. It never happened. And more than likely, you knew that was going to happen. That is what is called, boys and girls, a lie. And as saints of God, we're not supposed to lie. So therefore, those who are leading us should not lie. I truly believe that if our President Donald J. Trump, if he explained it in that way, if he explained tariffs in that way, it may cost you a little bit more, but we were hoping to get some of our industries back in the United States. That would strike a sympathetic, even a patriotic ear to many other citizens of the United States. But when one says, you're not paying for it, the other country's paying for it, why are they going to pay for their own goods? That would make as much sense. I'm going to send rice to the United States, and I'm going to send them also some money to pay for the tariff. No, I'm not going to do business with the United States. I wouldn't do that. No way. But that's how it's being explained. And that's just not the truth. So let's tell the truth about this. The main thing about tariffs, why it's such a beautiful word, is because it fills the coffers of the government. And it doesn't have to be voted upon. It doesn't have to be debated through Congress. At least until the Supreme Court just reversed everything. But the key was, tariffs are easy money. Let's go charge some. That's the whole idea. Now, once you understand what tariffs are and what they're supposed to do, the question then becomes, do you want to pay extra for coffee, for eggs, if you're good from it, probably not eggs, but definitely coffee, for automobiles, for television sets, for all types of electronics, for clothes, different things that essentially are made, assembled in various places around the world. And then partially made here. The thing is, someone tell us the truth. People should not be talked about like they're stupid, like they have absolutely no sense whatsoever. Because eventually they'll find out what the whole plan is. If you tell people that we just need more money in our coffers, good, because we don't want to tax you directly, then you leave it to the people. If they agree, yes. If not, then find something else. But you don't keep telling the same untruth. And I'm sorry, it's an untruth. So this is not talking about Donald Trump being that he's a whipping boy, or that they're always talking about Trump and how bad he is. Don't you want America? Yes, we want America to be good. I want him to do good, to be honest. I want Donald J. Trump, because if he does good, America does good. If America does good, then I will probably do good. And if I do good, I have no problem whatsoever, unless it's hurting somebody else. While it's helping me, it's hurting somebody else. Then I may have some issues. But let's lay it out on the line. Let's get all of the smoke and mirrors out of the way. Let's see what is this exactly that we're paying for. That's all I ever wanted. It's not about beating down on Trump, but he's the one that is telling us that that tariffs are beautiful, that they're wonderful, almost like they're cure-alls for everything. That's part of the foreign policy. But just like with any medicine that's taken, you see it on TV a lot. See all these things about how they do so good, yeah, and they're all jumping on, and they're skipping through the fields and so on. Then you have in these small letters all of the side effects, because they have to put it that way. Now they try to get us to notice the people jumping and skipping through the meadows, but you have to read the side effects as well. Give us the side effects of the tariffs. That's all. Then we can choose, instead of being hoodwinked or lied to or made to feel as if you're playing stupid, dealing with this issue of tariffs. Don't lie. God don't like liars. Well, anyway, go ahead and prepare for the coming State of the Union address. And remember, you may not like the president, and that's okay. But please respect him. Don't like him, but you can respect him. Because he is, for better or for worse, he's our president. May God bless you. May he keep you. And keep researching, saints. Do your research. Like you research the Bible. I hope you research the Bible. But as you research the Bible, research what's taking place in your government too. Love you all. God bless you. Take care in Jesus' name.